like I live by the sea. Your music is awesome, I'm really intrigued. Won't you please share your art with me? Even though so far apart we be. Won't you have a heart to heart with me?
So guys, welcome to our balcony session interview, courtesy of the Global Music Match. This is Svavar K from my lush balcony garden with my tomatoes here. You can just see beautiful tomatoes. And they're even still like, this is also what I call my automatic snack bar. Yeah, Icelanders absolutely love, this idea of being able to circumvent our climate. But back to our program. I'm very proud to present and to have this conversation, maybe interspersed with a little bit of video and a little bit of kind of insights with Fanny Lumsden. I'm really happy that we get to have like a little conversation, and I'm really also just so excited about this opportunity to bring new artists in front of my audience, because what I know of my audience is they are so excited to learn about something new and to be exposed to new music and artists that they haven't seen before. So welcome to my balcony, Fanny.
Thank you very much.
You were born in a tiny little village, right? In the mountains of New South Wales. Tooma Valley, right?
Yeah, I actually was born in the western part of New South Wales. That's all red dirt and flat. I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit. I lived here in the mountains for a little bit, and then I spent most of my childhood out where it's red dirt and kind of outback.
In the outback. Is that what they also call like the bush, or is that more like wooden?
We wouldn't call it the outback. We would just call it, live in the bush.
Right. That is so interesting to us. Like here in Iceland, we are always kind of scared of living anywhere where we don't see the sea, at least,
That isn't, definitely not for me. I grew up 700 kilometers from the sea, so.
It is so interesting about Australia. It looks like, for example, on your southeast coast, Melbourne and Sydney and Canberra and all these towns that are like huddled together on the southeast part of the country, but still the distances are like 18-hour drives, and they're so long. It doesn't look so far on the map, but it's like super far, right?
Yeah. For touring, we spend so much time in the car. Like we drive a lot, and sometimes, we'll drive up to 18 hours for the first gig of the weekend. And then like we've done hundreds of thousands of kilometers in the last couple of years, just going to gigs, literally in Australia, driving.
And it gets really hot, doesn't it? Especially during those touring seasons,
Yes. Yeah, we actually kind of tour all year round. Usually, not this year, obviously, but all year round, because it's never too cold to tour in Australia.
Never too cold, no.
It's too hot. It's too hot in the north. So we will tour in the north during our winter months, and then we'll tour in the south or just kind of everywhere else during our summer months. It gets very hot, over 40 degrees.
The winter months, is that the dry or the wet in the north? Is that the dry?
In the north, that's the dry.
Yeah.
So they have two seasons up the north, just the wet and the dry. And the dry is the winter.
I was once in Australia in the summer, and I wanted to take a train to Darwin, and they said I couldn't because there had been so much rain that the tracks weren't there anymore. And it was a bit of a shock for a guy that is normally, I was touring in Germany and Europe, and it's always like the train tracks are just train tracks, they're just there. But Australia, you can't take that for granted, right?
Yeah, she's a wild place. Well, I love touring. Like we've done a few trips. We've got this little caravan, and my husband and I have done all these trips. We just done just play in a two-piece. He plays the double bass, I play guitar. We both sing, and we just like go out like the real outback, like way into the middle of Australia, central and north, and play all these incredible places and just camp in our little caravan. And it was truly amazing. Love it.
That sounds absolutely beautiful. And these are totally for musical artists. Australian touring presents such completely different challenges.
Yeah, I think I haven't actually toured in well, I've been to the US, but I haven't done heaps of touring over there, and I haven't done any touring in Europe. But I do know that everything is very spread out in Australia. And I suppose outside the main hubs and kind of it is, you have to have kind of an inside understanding on how to access the audience, really.
Yeah,
If you're going to go remote. And I think that's the same everywhere though. Like you're going to go to remote places, you need to have an understanding on how to really connect with the people. And having grown up in rural and regional Australia, that is one thing I can do and has proved very useful. And also our music lends itself to kind of, maybe people that haven't heard of us before, or maybe they have, but we're a bit flexible where we can go, just because of a few things like our genre and our way to connect.
but it's also so important to be accessible, like not to be exclusive in your art. And I think that's one of the most, not like when I started listening to your stuff, when I was introduced to it, was like your music is so inviting and inclusive. When I'm listening to it, it's like I don't feel like an outsider, even if you're singing about Australian experiences or stuff like that. It's always like you invite me to come on in your music. I love that.
Thank you. I think I've always really worked on everything that we do, from performing to putting on, like we put on big shows, and writing, and everything I do. I want it to be inclusive. I want everybody to feel safe and have a good time, and not have to worry just for a little while. And I don't avoid the like issues and like kind of singing about whatever comes out. I don't avoid that, but I think I do like inclusivity.
Yeah, and as such, like me being a fundamentally immature guy, in many ways, I noticed you have a song called "Pete in the Pool," and of course I had to listen to it. It just says so much about you as a writer, as an artist. Like that it instantly tells me that you're not the type to go like, no, I would never sing about that. No. Like you obviously take control of your own image, how you present yourself.
Yeah. I'm glad that you connected with Pete in the Pool. That's good. You have songs where you've sung in the showers at pools, so I'm sure you know all about it. The Pete in the Pool one, for example, who hasn't? Everyone's done it at some point, and we're all lying if we say we haven't.
Yeah.
Especially in Australia, we swim a lot. So I really love being really honest, and it's like almost a challenge to myself when I'm writing to be like, okay, without doing it for the sake of it, there has to be a reason. But like that song, I kind of wrote the first bit that like, I grind my teeth and I peed in the pool. Like that first verse, I kind of just wrote in one go. And then the rest of the song kind of followed suit. Well, I was like, well, I've set the standard. I have to keep going now.
But there's another thing. We have things in common. We were both raised on a farm. And so your parents were farmers?
Yes.
Sheep farmers?
I grew up, sheep and crop, so wheat and canola and barley and merino sheep, so wool. And I grew up on a farm, very involved with farmer life. We like ride horses and would help in the shearing shed, like when shearing the wool. And worked on the farm after school and on the weekends, and a very farmy kind of life. And I think culturally that is definitely part of my family as well. But yeah, I loved it.
You did a BA in rural studies or rural agriculture.
Yes, science.
Rural,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Rural science, it's called, but it's basically agricultural science. I was interested in kind of the international development in agriculture and different kind of faculties of agriculture. I think it was really interesting. But yes, doing an ag degree or a science degree, I worked out was very difficult for me because I'm very opinionated and I'm very creative, and there is no room for opinions or creativity in a science degree.
But it still gives you a lot of background to then form new opinions and ideas.
Right. I'm glad I did it, and I did learn a lot more. But what I'm saying is that I think actually whilst I was doing that degree, it actually encouraged me to songwrite again, because I needed that outlet of creativity and to like express myself outside my degree. And that actually is what encouraged me to get songwriting again.
When you learn something totally different, it might just expand your brain that way.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm very glad that I accidentally took the path that I did.
Yeah.
It's been useful.
It gives you unique perspectives. And
yeah, it totally does. It's also like connected me in constant, like I was already connected in with the regional communities very well because I grew up there, but doing that degree, I now know people all over Australia in those rural communities, and that has helped because we do a lot of regional touring, and a lot of it is application based where the locations apply to host. And so allowed me to be part of a massive network that's actually kind of doubled up. So now people from those degrees come to my, that I met through the degree, come to my shows with their families, and I can talk to them about how their crops are going because I understand like how your tomatoes are.
That links right into my next, topic or question or whatever, is that like having that kind of background and also that kind of degree must lend you heaps of street cred in like country music in Australia.
Yes, it does.
Now this gal, she knows what she's talking about.
Your Australian accent is second to none, mate. Very good.
Thanks. It just stretch every vowel out.
You do. You're right. You're dead right.
A baby's first breath and a harvest lost grain. Wherever you were when you first got laid. Yeah, when mama walked out when it still hasn't rained.
Yeah, it's I'm very lucky to have someone like Dan. I definitely the whole of the Fanny Lumsden facade is probably. It's 50% Dan and 50% me. So it should probably be both of our names. Really, it's worked really well. We're really complimentary, I think.
No, I mean, I love it when people can kind of become a team and just make it work so well, because this is a high stress job. And we can't ignore that. The more you try to kind of comb over that, the more the bald spot shows,
It does. Yeah, we've had, and it really shows in our community as well, playing gigs and the fans, and even extends to my brother who tours with us a lot as well. Everyone loves them equal amounts. If they're not at shows, everyone's yelling out "Where's Tom? Where's Dan?" It is not by any stretch a one-woman show. It takes an army, and I'm very lucky to have my family very much involved. And I think it's helped with my mental health, with just literally every aspect. Having my family around me has been wonderful.
Just listening to your music and your energy, I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure that you would fit so well in the European market, and you would my fans in Germany and Austria, they would absolutely love you. In Poland and France, because people love that kind of different, fresh energy that doesn't have the same kind of bounce as some of us Europeans have. We are more closed off in our little mindsets, and then someone comes from a totally different world. But there's one thing I would bet on, is that you would freak out on how easy it is to tour Europe. Logistically, you just buy like a train pass, and then you're on your next, like 2-3 hours, you're in the next city, or less, like half an hour, you can be in the next city.
Insane.
Yeah, the
To
infrastructure
have that
in
many
Europe.
people. To
And
have that many people, yeah, I bet, like, ready to go to a gig is like, we have done it in a regional Australia in a way that is not done that commonly, but like we've worked very hard to make that happen. And we go to places where I think it's like the opposite scenario. It's like we play in a hall that is literally hundreds of kilometers from any other building, like not even like town, like building. And
like, where do the
there's a
people
little
come
hall.
from?
They travel so far and it'll fill up, and it's just the most fun. Everybody is just like in for a party, and but like really receptive, and it's so wonderful. But I can't even fathom just like jumping on the train.
Yeah.
Not like packing up a whole rig and like, we got to take all the sound with us and take everything with us wherever we go. And yeah, I love it. I think I got asked this question today, actually, whether we've felt isolated out here where we live during COVID. And because we live about 6 hours from Sydney and 6 hours from Melbourne, and we're 2 hours from like even a little city, like we're quite isolated. And I was like, absolutely not. I do not. I've got my family around me. My community here is amazing. The internet's been great. But even so, I don't think it's just not something I would even think about.
In your touring, I mean, since you go all around Australia, you played, what, 180 different halls?
Yeah. So that's kind of over the Life of the Country Halls tour. We've had just shy of 100 apply to host for next year. So I have to go through those applications and work out that tour and figure it out if it's possible, if we can tour.
I'm curious, like, what are like the weirdest places you've played, and maybe the most beautiful like locations you've ever been playing?
Oh, that's really hard. We don't really tour conventional venues very much. Just the way that I have, like, we've developed our touring. It's been very ground up, and I've built our audiences in a very non-conventional touring way. And so we play a lot of backyards, and a lot of, like, we did when we were like building up, and the country halls as well. Like, we play a lot of, so the halls can be the most, like, so different all over the place. But I think the most extreme things we played was when Dan and I were touring around Australia as a two-piece, like, kind of, it was a few years ago now. We would end up like everywhere. We played in a cave. We played in the backs of, like, on the backs of people, like trucks, and like under the stars in the outback, like right out in like Western Queensland. We've played to a whole heap of nude people once. That was hilarious. But I was 7.5 months pregnant, so I didn't partake, but fun. We've played, just recently we launched our album here, right where we live, and we had big bushfires in January here, and it was actually horrendous time, but we did a big launch to raise money for the area, for the local bushfire recovery fund. And it was the launch of our album, and we sold so many tickets that we ended up having to put it on the rec reserve on the back, like on this truck stage. And that night, like, the sun is setting over the mountains, and we are just like, I don't know, all these people had come, and we donated all the money. It was the most insane, beautiful night. And there's been so many memorable and varied locations, boats on rivers, like heaps of stuff.
Would you feel that there are things in your language that are definitely shaped by your land and and how Australian society works?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Just like you said, I think there's a lot of environmental factors that make up for different, different kind of ways that we pronounce things. And then also, you know, we're a very multicultural society. And I think that that's had a lot to do with different accents in different areas. Like, you know, whether it's where like out kind of near where I grew up, it's a place called Griffith, and there was a lot of Italians that came there. So, you know, that kind of influenced different kind of accents and words that we used and cultural things, and, you know, all over the place. I can also really speak about this in terms of my songwriting, because I am really influenced by the environment, the physical environment when I write songs, to the point where my current record is just the whole theme of the record is these mountains and valleys that I live in. Like that is like, and then my last records were really influenced by, you know, the red dirt and being out on the road, out and kind of further out. And then the ones before was where I grew up. So I am very influenced by the natural environment. And I think that in turn, it affects the language of the songs, and I'm also like what I'm using in terms of the local kind of vernacular as well. I think with ours, it's more like, she'll be right, mate. Like,
yeah,
like we're very relaxed and pretty like, you know, lackadaisical about just like, it'll work out in the end. Like, just go with the flow.
I think that's one of the reasons why Icelanders and Australians really get along. Australians do have this relaxed attitude. We say "þetta reddast," which means it'll work itself out. You know.
Yeah, exactly the same. I think it's all fairly casual. It's like we didn't really want any of the pretense and the order that came with our, you know, like when it was settled by you know, the English essentially. We kind of got rid of that bit, and we were a lot more chilled out about it.
Yeah, I do love that part of your culture, the Australian culture, this kind of chill, relaxed. So anytime you want to come over to play in Europe, now you have friends here. You have me, you have Lucy, you have our Italian friends. The
Canzoniere Grecanico Salentino.
You said that pretty well.
And we have Breibach. We have all this, like, I think that's the most wonderful part about this.
I completely agree. I am really have found this whole process so wonderful in this year. Like, we'd really hoped to come over actually this September, and then obviously none of that was going to happen. And then we're like, okay, well, next year. But we'll just, you know, we'll keep giving it a go, and right back at you all. Like, come back out here, and as you know, challenging as and massive commitment it is to come all the way to Australia, I think now we've all made friends, we can all hook each other up and sort it out.
Oh, Fanny, a really interesting proposal for you. If you come over through North America, you know, go and visit Geordie Lane or something, and you can fly through Iceland free. There's a free stopover, and we'd treat you, you know, we'd make a little concert, show you around.
I'll fly there. I'll choose to fly there. You don't have to come for free. I'll pay to come. And
we could have a concert for you at the Icelandic Agricultural Academy. You know, like they have a little bar that is like a barn. They have a barn and a bar in the barn. So the barn
sounds
bar.
Amazing. I saw actually, I think maybe some footage or some photos of you playing at a brewery or something. Was it up north?
Oh yeah.
Can we go there too? Looks amazing.
Oh yeah, definitely. That place is, that's the bomb. It's awesome. My daughter loves the picture of you on the horse. She's absolutely fascinated. Such a big horse. Our horses are tiny, but don't call them ponies. You'll incur the wrath of the Icelandic horse people.
Well, you can bring your daughter and she can ride our tall horses.
You know, if you fall off an Icelandic horse, it's just like a dunk. I felt, it's just like a dunk. Ow. Fanny Lumsden, thank you so much for giving us your time, and we really look forward to getting you over.
Yay, thank you for your time, and love to your beautiful family. and your beautiful tomato plants.
Yeah, have a tomato.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Oh.
Cute. Bye.